Welcome to Engaging Recapped. The film begins pre-snap, before Thanos, Josh Brolin, uses the Infinity Stones to clear out a portion of all life in the universe. Clint Barton, otherwise known as Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner, is still on house arrest. He is going through a wonderful day with his two sons, his wife, Linda Cardellini, and his daughter, whom he is instructing to use a bow and arrow. He turns his back briefly, and, when he turns around, he sees every member of his family has turned to dust. Fast forward to after Infinity War. Tony Stark, otherwise known as Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., is in a spaceship with Nebula, Karen Gillan. They are out of power and rapidly running out of air. Everything appears to be lost until they float past Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, Brie Larson. She tows them back to Earth, where she had been summoned by Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson, before he was killed in the snap. They show up and are welcomed by what survives of the Avengers: Steve Rogers, also known as Captain America, Chris Evans, Rocket Raccoon, voiced by Bradley Cooper, acted by Sean Gunn, Natasha Romanoff, also known as Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson, Bruce Banner, also known as Hulk, Mark Ruffalo, James Rhodes, also known as War Machine, Don Cheadle, and Thor, Chris Hemsworth. They inquire as to whether he has any data on Thanos, and he goes crazy, accusing Captain America's going underground as the reason they lost. Tony basically lets him know they are all alone and goes off with Pepper Potts, Gwyneth Paltrow, who also survived the snap. Nebula has an idea of the whereabouts of her dad, Thanos. The Avengers figure out how to find an energy signature, showing that Thanos recently used the Infinity Stones once more. They take off to the planet where he lives and attacked him. Thanos is easily overpowered. The Avengers request to know where he concealed the Infinity Stones, aiming to use them to reverse the death Thanos caused. He tells them that the energy signature they identified was him using the stones to destroy the stones. Thanos explains that he didn't need his hard and great work to be undone by short-sighted people like the Avengers. Destroying the Infinity Stones almost killed Thanos, explaining his debilitated state. Subsequent to dealing with the way that Thanos truly obliterated the Infinity Stones, Thor decapitates Thanos and the Avengers return to Earth, unable to change anything. 5 years later, Steve is running a support group for people who survived the snap. Clint has turned into a vigilante, mercilessly killing gang leaders across the world. Natasha runs what's left of the Avengers, including War Machine, Captain Marvel, Nebula, Rocket, and Okoye, Danai Gurira. Captain Marvel explains that she is returning back into deep space and will therefore be out of contact. In the meantime, a rodent stumbles into a control board in a warehouse and enacts a machine situated in a van. The machine opens a vortex, and Scott Lang, otherwise known as Ant-Man, Paul Rudd, emerges. He had been trapped in the quantum realm. It takes him a little while to realize 5 years have passed, and that much of the world has been destroyed. He dashes off to his home and finds down his daughter Cassie, Emma Furman, is still alive. After their reunion, Scott drives to Avengers headquarters where Steve is visiting Natasha. He explains that the quantum realm allows people to travel through time. However, they need to build such a device. They can pull off a time heist, where they can retrieve the Infinity Stones before Thanos gets them and fix everything. Steve, Natasha, and Scott go to visit Tony. He carries on with a quiet life, married to Pepper and having a young daughter. Tony refuses to assist, far too much to lose. The trio then visits Bruce. They noticed he has perfected the Hulk. Although always in his Hulk form, the Hulk maintains Bruce's intelligence and even wears shirts. Hulk consents to help. However, it is obvious that he can't pull it off. During their tests, they only succeed in changing test subject Ant-Man's age from infant to senior citizen and back again. In the meantime, Tony can't stop thinking about time travel. Working through the night, he is able to develop a time travel device. He refuses to use it, not wanting to jeopardize the life he has, despite knowing that others have suffered immensely. Eventually, Pepper persuades him to carry the device to the Avengers. He does so, however, and tells Steve they need to figure out how to bring everybody back, while not changing anything that occurred over the last 5 years. The Avengers decide to reconnect with the rest of their team. Black Widow finds Hawkeye and persuades him that he can redeem himself and have his family back. Hulk and Rocket find Thor, who has established a settlement called New Asgard, populated by Asgardians including Valkyrie, Tessa Thompson. She explains that Thor has turned into a loner in the years since the snap, having lost Mjolnir and failed to defeat Thanos. The team goes to Thor's home and finds him drunk, unkempt, and very fat. He just plays computer games with his friend Korg, voiced by Taika Waititi, and Meek. They, at last, persuade Thor to return by promising him lots of lager. Tony and Bruce successfully send Clint back in time for a couple of seconds and realize they can time travel. They split into groups to go after the Infinite Stones. Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk, and Ant-Man will go back to the events in Avengers, when 3 of the stones, time, mind, and space, were in New York. Thor and Rocket travel to Asgard during the events of Thor 2 to retrieve the Reality Stone. Black Widow and Hawkeye go to the planet where the Soul Stone is located, as shown in Avengers: Infinity War, and Nebula and War Machine traveled to the events of Guardians of the Galaxy to get the Power Stone. Every one of them has sufficient power to make 2 time jumps, one to the past and one back to the present. The machines are controlled by Pym particles, made by Hank Pym, Michael Douglas, who was killed in the snap, and so, no more Pym particles can be made. Thor and Rocket on Asgard. The Reality Stone has converged with Thor's then sweetheart Jane Foster, Natalie Portman. Rocket goes to draw it out from her, while Thor ditches him to follow his mom Frigga, Renee Russo, who passes on the following day. She eventually spots Thor and deduces he is from the future. She supports him, lets him know he ought to be the hero instead of following the destiny his father wanted, and eventually gets him to shape up. Thor calls Mjolnir, which was not yet annihilated, to him. Rocket retrieved the Reality Stone, and he and Thor escape the Watchmen pursuing them and jump back to the present. The 4 heroes split up, and Hulk went after the Time Stone, which is in the possession of the then Sorcerer Supreme, the Ancient One, Tilda Swinton. Hulk finds the Ancient One secretively aiding the battle against the alien invaders. Hulk tries to take the Time Stone from her forcibly, however, she easily subdues him. They then discuss the reason why Hulk needs it, and the Ancient One hesitates due to the complexity of time travel. Hulk says that they will likely restore each stone to the specific time they were taken, so that they will avoid any paradox. The Ancient One is at last persuaded to surrender the Time Stone when told that her successor, Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch, said this was the only way to win. War Machine and Nebula jump back to when Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, Chris Pratt, is finding the Power Stone and moving to his Walkman. They take Quill out once they follow him to the place where he first takes it. Unknown to the heroes in any case, Nebula's innovation is connected with her past self in existence at that time. The past Nebula innovation starts to glitch, and Thanos investigates it. Thanos' other daughter, Gamora, Zoe Saldana, still works with him, however is as of now feeling somewhat unsure about him resisting his efforts to collect the Infinity Stones. He realizes that the glitch is because of the existence of the present Nebula in this time stream. He is able to access present Nebula's memories recorded to her cybernetics through past Nebula, and is able to see all the events up to this point, including the hero's current attempt to undo his victory. Thanos permits War Machine and present Nebula to get the Power Stone. War Machine jumps back to the present, but before present Nebula can do the same, Thanos deactivates her robotics, and she falls. He then, at that point, sends past Nebula, who is still loyal to him, into the present posing as present Nebula. Hawkeye and Dark Widow travel to the world where the Soul Stone is and are welcomed by its gatekeeper, the Red Skull, Ross Marquand. The Red Skull explains that one of the two will need to sacrifice their life in exchange for the Soul Stone. He likewise lets them know that once that life is sacrificed, it can never be brought back, even by the Infinity Stones. The two start to battle as neither wants the other to die. Hawkeye, after a long tussle, jumps off the edge of the mountain but is caught in midair by Black Widow. She attaches a grappling hook to Hawkeye that pulls him back up while she plummets to her death. A broken-hearted Hawkeye takes the Soul Stone and jumps back to the present, and Black Widow's death is never undone. Iron Man, Captain America, and Ant-Man hold on until Loki, Tom Hiddleston, is crushed, and the heroes have possession of the Mind and Space Stones. As the heroes and S.H.I.E.L.D. clear out the area, past Tony Stark claims the Space Stone, and undercover Hydra agents, including Crossbones, Frank Grillo, collect the Mind Stone. Iron Man and Ant-Man pursue the Space Stone, while Captain America pursues the Mind Stone. Captain America enters a lift with the Hydra agents and the Mind Stone and requests that they hand the Mind Stone over. It looks like a fight is about to ensue when Captain America, using his knowledge of who they actually work for, says "Hail Hydra," persuaded he is their ally. They hand over the Mind Stone. He is about to get away when he is encountered by his past self. They battle, with his past self believing present Captain America to be Loki in disguise. Present Captain America wins the fight when he distracts his past self by telling him that Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, Sebastian Stan, is still alive, following past Tony, past Thor, and a captured past Loki to the entryway of the structure. Ant-Man and Iron Man watch as the heroes are confronted by past S.H.I.E.L.D. director and undercover Hydra agent Alexander Pierce, Robert Redford. Pierce demands the suitcase containing the Space Stone. Ant-Man creeps into past Tony's heart monitor and detaches it, making past Tony go into cardiac arrest and causing pandemonium to occur. Past Thor eventually revives him. In the pandemonium, present Iron Man takes the case with the Space Stone and goes to exit when he is knocked into by past Hulk, who comes barging out of the door Iron Man was entering. The suitcase flies out of present Iron Man's hands and lands right close to Loki. The shrewd Loki snatches the Space Stone and uses it to get away. The trio realizes the only option is to go even further back in time to get the Space Stone, but doing so will result in them being unable to return to the present. They choose to return to when Hank Pym was still working for S.H.I.E.L.D., so they can get both the Space Stone and more Pym particles. They send Ant-Man to the present with the Mind Stone, and afterward, Iron Man and Captain America travel once back in time. It's the 1970s. We get our last Stan Lee cameo ever, where he drives a vehicle in hippie gear and yells out "Make peace, not war." Captain America and Iron Man penetrate a S.H.I.E.L.D. base and split up Tony to get the Space Stone and Steve to get the Pym particles. Steve successfully distracts Hank and takes some Pym particles. On his mission, he witnesses his first love Peggy Carter. Haley Atwell, however, doesn't move toward her. Tony finds the Space Stone in his dad's office. Before he leaves, his dad Howard, John Slattery, runs into him, and the two have a bonding moment. The heroes reunite and get back to the present. Having finally recovered every one of the stones, Iron Man makes a glove to put them in. With the stones joined together, the heroes realize that using the Infinity Stones will subject the user to severe radiation. Hulk eventually gets to use the gauntlet as he is the sturdiest of the heroes and also was created through radiation. In the meantime, with all the heroes busy with the Infinity Stones, past Nebula enacts the time machine and uses it to pull past Thanos' warships into the present. Doing so obliterates the time machine. Hulk snaps his fingers, wishing to restore every one of those killed by Thanos, while changing nothing that has occurred since. The effort greatly withers the Hulk and depletes his strength. Their efforts work, but as soon as they start to rejoice, Thanos' warships open fire on the Avengers base and utterly obliterate it. Every one of the heroes manages to stay alive. Thanos orders past Nebula to find the Infinity Stones, while he waits for the heroes to emerge from the rubble. In the meantime, present Nebula at long last persuades past Gamora that past Gamora grows to become a hero. Past Gamora liberates present Nebula. They head out to help the heroes. Hulk, War Machine, Rocket, and Ant-Man are trapped deep under the rubble. Hawkeye finds the Infinity Stones, but is quickly sought after by Thanos' alien dogs. Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man arise to battle Thanos. The Mad Titan laughs as he fights, noting that the heroes have brought the stones together for him, and that he will use them to, this time, clear out all life, and afterward create new life once more in his image, life that won't defy his will. Thanos stays persuaded that his mission is correct. Hawkeye defeats Thanos' dogs and unknowingly hands the Infinity Stones to past Nebula, who quickly tries to go give them to Thanos. Before she can get to her dad, she is faced by past Gamora and present Nebula. They try to reason with past Nebula to no avail. Present Nebula then shoots and kills her past self. This seems to have no impact on the timeline. Hawkeye then, at that point, noticed that with the time machine obliterated, they can't return the Infinity Stones. Thanos, even without the Infinity Stones, is more than a challenge for the heroes. He stands over Thor, about to kill him, when he is hit by somebody who has lifted and tossed Mjolnir at him. Thor glances over to see who was worthy enough to wield his hammer and sees that it is Captain America. He laughs and says, "I knew he could make it happen." Captain America uses Mjolnir and its lightning powers to achieve a brief advantage. In any case, Thanos before long recuperates, breaks Captain America's shield, and beats the hero severely. Thanos' warships land and his military, including his Black Order, invade. Thanos expresses that while his triumphs to date were generic and directed by his desire to make a superior universe, he will enjoy obliterating this world. All look over when in the background a portal is being opened by a revived Doctor Strange. A serious battle commences between Thanos and his army, and the revived heroes killed by Thanos return. This battle includes Sam Wilson, also known as Falcon. Anthony Mackie is the first to come out of the portal and save Captain America. King T'Challa, also known as Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, his sister Shuri, Letitia Wright, and Okoye lead the warriors of Wakanda, including M'Baku, Winston Duke, to the battlefield. Winter Soldier as well shows up to the battle, Valkyrie riding her winged horse and leading the Asgardian army, and Meek and Korg onto the battlefield. Benedict Wong, leads all sorcerers onto the battlefield. Ant-Man, becoming very large in size, releases Hulk, War Machine, and Rocket from the rubble. Doctor Strange returns to the battlefield and brings with him all who had died in space fighting Thanos, including Drax, Dave Bautista, Mantis, Palm Clementif, Teenage Groot, voiced by Vin Diesel, and Peter Parker aka Spider-Man, Tom Holland. Iron Man gives Spider-Man a big hug. In the fight, Iron Man asks Doctor Strange whether this is the outcome he foresaw in Infinity War. Doctor Strange said that in all multiple timelines, there's only one in which they win. He says he can't say since, because if he tells Iron Man, then it won't happen. Ant-Man rejoined with Hope Van Dyne, also known as Wasp, Evangeline Lilly. Ant-Man and Wasp realize that the time machine in Scott's van remains intact, meaning that if they get the gauntlet across the battlefield to the van, they can return the stones and deprive Thanos of them. Hawkeye gives the glove to Black Panther, who races toward the van while sought after by Thanos. Star-Lord is kicked by past Gamora when he attempts to embrace her. Past Gamora inquires as to whether this is actually the man she end up falling in love with. Nebula replies that your choices were either him or a talking tree. Thanos is attacked and getting seriously beaten up by a raging Wanda Maximoff aka Scarlet Witch, Elizabeth Olsen, whose eyes glow red with power. Black Panther passes the gauntlet off to Spider-Man, who gets help from Pepper Potts and Valkyrie. While heading to the time machine, Thanos orders his warships to fire on the warriors below, sacrificing even his own soldiers. However, the warships stop firing on those on the ground and start firing on something flying towards it. Captain Marvel making her return to Earth. She makes short work of the warships. Captain Marvel getting the gauntlet from Spider-Man. She is then surrounded by her fellow female warriors Shuri, Okoye, Pepper Potts, Scarlet Witch, Valkyrie, Nebula, Gamora, Mantis, and Wasp, who assist her clear out the remaining villains between her and the time machine. Captain Marvel is about to arrive at the time machine. Thanos shoots and obliterates it. The gauntlet flies very high, and Thanos recovers it. He slips it onto his hand and attempts to snap, this time annihilating all life, but is stopped by Captain Marvel. The team battle, and, as they do, Doctor Strange gives Iron Man a sign that Tony must take action if they are to win the day. Despite Captain Marvel overpowering Thanos, he figures out how to use the Power Stone to increase his strength to thump her away. Iron Man then flies in and battles with Thanos. However, is flung aside. Thanos then, at that point, snaps his fingers and nothing happens. He looks down and sees that Tony had taken the stones off the gauntlet during their battle and embedded the stones into his Iron Man armor. Thanos boasts that he is inevitable i.e., he is bound to succeed. Tony answers that he is Iron Man and snaps his fingers. Thanos then looks as his whole army dissolves into dust. Iron Man wanted Thanos and his powers to be annihilated, with nothing else changing. Thanos murmurs and sits down, surrendered to his destiny. Thanos himself is before long reduced to dust. Iron Man breakdowns, mortally injured from using the Infinity Stones. He is embraced by War Machine, Spider-Man, and, at long last, Pepper. Tony's wife assures him that she and their daughter will be okay, and that he may pass. Iron Man passes on and cannot be revived. Clint reunites with his family, and Scott with his. Peter sees generally his secondary school friend Scott back to life, and embraces his closest friend Ned, Jacob Batalon. T'Challa looks out over his restored kingdom with his family, including Mother Ramonda, Angela Bassett, at his side. Going ahead in time, the heroes are shown at Tony Stark's funeral. Tony's daughter and Pepper watch a message Tony recorded for them before the last fight, where he maintains his everlasting adoration for them. Carved onto his heart screen are the words proof that Tony Stark has a heart. Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch console each other about the misfortunes of Black Widow and Vision, although Scarlet Witch says she knows they know about the triumph. Likewise at the burial service are Harley Quinner, Ty Simpkins, Auntie May, Marissa Tomei, Happy Hogan, Jon Favreau, Maria Hill, Kobe Smulders, Hank Pym, Janet Van Dyne, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Nick Fury. Happy Hogan promises to look out for Tony's daughter. Thor gets back to New Asgard. Valkyrie is made the new leader of the Asgardian people. Thor then boards a spaceship with the Guardians of the Galaxy, sans Gamora, who Star-Lord is looking for on the ship's computer. As they take off, the group perceives that there is uncertainty concerning whether Thor or Star-Lord is their captain, and Thor gives dubious assurances to Star-Lord that he is the captain. At long last, another time machine is designed. Hulk, Falcon, and Winter Soldier are in attendance as Captain America prepares to return the Infinity Stones to the very moment at which they were taken, as promised to the Ancient One. They send Captain America back in time, yet can't return him to the present. Bucky then sees an elderly person sitting close by. He advises Sam to go look at it. Sam approaches and observes that the elderly person is Steve Rogers. Steve explains that he destroyed his time travel gadget after returning all the Infinity Stones, saying he needed to try living life, as Tony always told him to do. Sam exclaims that the world will miss Captain America. Steve removes his shield from a bag. He then, at that point, hands it to Sam, blessing him as the new Captain America. Sam sees a wedding ring on Steve's finger. The film then ends with Steve remembering his new past, wherein he married and grew old with Peggy. The film ends with the two dancing and sharing a passionate kiss. Now I am going to give you the history behind this movie, Avengers Endgame. Avengers Endgame is a 2019 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics superhero group The Avengers, created by Marvel Studios and distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures. It is the immediate continuation to Avengers: Infinity War, 2018, and the 22nd film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, directed by Anthony and Joe Russo and written by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely. The film features an ensemble cast including Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, Jeremy Renner, Don Cheadle, Paul Rudd, Brie Larson, Karen Gillan, Danai Gurira, Benedict Wong, Jon Favreau, Bradley Cooper, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Josh Brolin. In the film, the surviving group of the Avengers and their allies try to reverse Thanos' actions in Infinity War. Thanks for watching. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content like this.